Hi, I'm Stan.
And I'm Rodney, and we're the co-founders of Luxtrim.
Start off, why did you guys want to become entrepreneurs? What are your biggest influences?
So, you want me to say?
Go ahead.
So I guess I'd have like two main reasons. So first, my family is pretty entrepreneurial. My mom hasn't worked a corporate job since she was in her late teens, and she's worked at a few different businesses before coming to the one that she has now. And then second of all, I ran a business in high school. I just started selling headphones to my friends, and then I expanded that to like 2 other high schools. And that was like my spark for business in general. So that's like why I came to business school, and then like having that ingrained in my mind, startups and entrepreneurship were what business meant to me.
I think to add to that, I'd say I want to be like autonomous. I want to have full control of what I'm doing. I like planning my own schedule and thinking about how I'm gonna grow my own business. So that sort of thing you don't really get working at a corporate job.
Awesome. So I guess to kind of jump from that, you talked a little bit about it, Rodney. In terms of history, I know you guys are doing Luxtrim right now, and you did the headphones earlier. Is there any other businesses you guys have worked on, or any things you're passionate about that you're
We did 2 other projects. So one was a startup that we worked on our first year called Was Good. It was basically a business that connected like local students in the London, Ontario area that weren't super familiar with downtown to local restaurants in London. And it was basically like a GPS proximity app. It was developed in Kingston, and they were expanding to London, so we decided to join the startup and help the expansion. We worked on that for about 8 months. It obviously didn't succeed because Just Eat came to market, but it was an interesting experience anyway. And
sure. On top of that, one of our closest friends we met actually through playing video games. We developed a really strong relationship with him, and he's been a software developer. So together, he's very much interested in startups as well. So we ended up running a couple projects. We did hackathons, and that just got us even more interested coming up to the time we start our own business.
And then we have a second thing that we worked on with him called 5 p.m. Life, which was something we worked on while working on Luxtrim while in HBA 1. So it was like we did it from January till like about summer. It was an app called 5 p.m. Life that connected local business professionals in the Toronto area to one another. It was sort of like a networking app, but it was pretty interesting because it was basically grouping them using a randomizing algorithm and putting them towards random events. So like we held a skating event in January with like just a bunch of people who queued up on the app, and then they all went skating together, random professionals. That was also a really cool project.
Sweet, that's sweet. So when you guys since you guys are students, how's it been balancing Ivey cases and classes, all this homework and exams, with being entrepreneurs and running your own business?
I think one of the benefits to at least the time when we started our business is that most of the business actually gets done during the summer. There's a little bit of seasonality to that, but also we do have the help of our parents as well. So when we're gone, they do help out a bit, but at times we do have to travel all the way back to Toronto for some weekends and get a lot of work done, client meetings, that kind of thing. So it hasn't been easy, but we do have some help.
Also, it helps that we're not actually doing the installation ourselves, so we have an installation team that handles the installation, and also have like a project manager that makes sure the installation is going swimmingly. So on that sense, all we really have to do is ensure that we get the clients, so like basically just sales, and we'd have to maybe travel back and forth from London maybe once every week or 2 weeks or even 3 weeks. So it's a little bit intensive when things are busy, like when we have a lot of exams, but when we're mostly free, it's not really a big deal.
Yeah, and you guys have a physical store location as well, right?
Yeah.
So where is it?
It's in Vaughan.
Okay.
It's at this home improvement mall called Improve Canada.
Okay, awesome. Let's see if we can get like footage of that.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so what are some of like the biggest challenges that you guys have, what are some of the biggest challenges that you guys have faced since doing all these businesses?
So for me, the very biggest challenge was learning all the different tools I need to know for marketing, for digital, for everything. Honestly, school doesn't really prepare you for this that well. Like for example, SEO, Facebook advertising, all the paid pay-per-click, and even building websites is all stuff I had to learn in the first few months of the business, and that was a huge challenge. But once you got over that, it made it a lot more easier to get leads and to get sales.
Also, like from my end, one of the biggest challenges was learning how to do sales. I know it sounds weird, but there's no sales courses that you can really take at Western. So you kind of have to learn as you go. My only other real sales job was working at Cineplex when I was in grade 12, selling popcorn. But you don't get the sales experience with that because you don't actually have to attract the client. It was really just about finding out what each kind of client values in your product offering and trying to, I guess, leverage that in order to build a relationship and then push the sale. And also, our sales aren't very impulsive. They span over the term of like a few weeks. So like there's different like cycles in the sales, I guess, process that I didn't really understood like, that they existed. It's pretty cool.
So for all of the HBA ones or people or just students at Western in general, what would you tell them as a key piece of advice or advice in general to help them be entrepreneurs that they should know before they jump into it?
The biggest part is understanding when you have a good opportunity. So I mean, it helped out that our parents do travel the world a little bit and are able to get some international exposure and understand what kind of supply and what kind of opportunities are out there. So once we found something that we thought might be possible, me and Rodney just took it right off and just said, let's go for this. It makes sense. If the numbers make sense, make sure you do your projections. And at that point, you got to commit all the way. Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest things that I'd say are important is confidence. So we're like having an Ivey education, like you're pretty good at understanding like business acumen, like what looks good on paper and stuff. But what you don't understand is that a lot of entrepreneurs out there actually don't have like formal business education. A lot of them just figured out ways to make ends work. And I guess you having some sort of business education is actually pretty good. And you shouldn't be scared of entrepreneurship because a lot of the time it's just figuring things out and nobody really knows what's going on. It's more about you figuring out what works for you through trial and error to succeed.
How did you guys get into Lux Trim? What was the story behind that?
Yeah, so the story is my mom. So we're Ukrainian. My mom really likes fancy moldings and stuff like that because that's the kind of environment she grew up in from her home city, and she wanted some of that stuff for our home in Brampton. But looking at the market, she couldn't really find anything that perfectly tailors to her needs. So I'm talking specifically about crown moldings right now. So the crown moldings that you can find in Toronto are basically just like plaster crown moldings, like wood crown moldings, the kind of stuff you find at Home Depot pretty commonly, but like she wanted like the fancier stuff. So we looked around, we found some fancy stuff that was like way over our price range, but my mom, having her own business, she travels around and she went to a trade show in China where she found a supplier to do her own house. So she imported some material and she did her own house. She actually installed it herself. She's a very DIY person. And we thought it looked cool, and we were kind of making fun of her, being like, what, you went to China just to get moldings for your own house? Like, what, you couldn't have got it here? And then we realized that she actually couldn't have got it here, that the opportunity didn't exist for her to purchase these sort of things for her own house. And we were like, whoa, like, I'm pretty sure that there are more people like my mom that would be like a customer for this sort of business. And at the same time, in Vaughan, there was a home improvement mall that was just gaining traction, and it was the largest home improvement mall in Canada. And the units were selling renting at a reasonable price. So we decided to, jump into that and connect these two business opportunities. And after doing some sort of projections, my mom didn't want to run this sort of business, so she told us to do it. And we were like, okay, yeah, actually we do really want to do this. So we ended up doing it after second year.
Yeah, and another point to add to that would be when we were looking into the actual supply that we had, we quickly realized that the margins for this really made sense. We got them for a very reasonable price, and comparing to other alternatives around, it looked like the margins really made sense for this business, and without that we would have never pursued this.
So did you have any challenges in trying to set up things like supply chains, getting to factories, and just getting shipping? What were the challenges with that? How did you kind of overcome that? And what was the whole process like?
So when you think about like luxury interior design, you think about like very custom fit type things. And what that means for us is that every single home needs to have like a lot of different kinds of crown moldings and stuff. So it was kind of difficult because our lead time, ordering from like places like Israel, Italy, China, it's usually around like 2 months to get like a container of stuff or like a few boxes of stuff. And that presented a lot of challenges because some homes need custom things. So what we ended up doing was just gathering like a large variety of inventory, putting it in our warehouse, and then every single house we do, we try to incorporate designs based off what we have in stock. Of course, that's contingent on having a lot of things in stock, so we started off with a small amount of inventory and tried to find clients that fit into the inventory we had, and then once we got bigger as a business, we bought more inventory in order to fit with more clients, and then now that we're larger, we actually have a lot of inventory in stock, and try to like custom fit current projects with what we have in stock. That's sort of right.
And another challenge, I guess, would be when you're first starting your relationship with a supplier, it's really hard to make sure that they consistently send you good quality material. So luckily we were able to get our mom to visit them. So obviously that came firsthand, and that definitely helped build the relationship. But it's really important to constantly talk about how good your standards are for making sure the quality is perfect. And if you don't have that, then you don't really have a business.
So what do you think is the number one reason that business students should be pursuing entrepreneurship?
I think, well, for me, the main reason I want to go into entrepreneurship is because we're at one of the best undergraduate business schools in Canada, and if these kids aren't going into entrepreneurship, then it's going to be a lot easier for me. So, yeah, but that's actually one of the main reasons. Like, if you think about it, like the inflow of entrepreneurs into Canada, if they're not coming from one of the highest talent organizations that can output these individuals, then your competition actually isn't that, I guess, it's not as scary as you think it is.
Yeah, for me it's more about what do you actually like doing. It's not like I knew right away that I wanted to deal with moldings and be an interior designer or that kind of thing, but it's what kind of environment do you want to work in. Do you want to face new challenges every single day and always have to work fast paced, but also have the availability of free time when you really need it? Or do you want to be in a very set, fixed schedule every single day and live that sort of life? So for me, it was obvious which way I wanted to go, and it also helped that the opportunity was already in sight. So putting those things together, it just made a lot of sense for me.
So what would you guys say was your biggest challenge with Luxtream?
Right, go ahead.
So in my opinion, one of our biggest challenges was being entrepreneurs in interior design, and having interior design be a very ageist industry. So what I mean by that is so first we started off by being the interior designers for our own business. Obviously with some help from an interior designer we initially hired, but we ended up doing it ourselves because it was cheaper eventually. And what we found is a lot of the time when we're talking to clients and stuff like that, what they want to see is somebody that's experienced in interior design, somebody that has somebody that's older, somebody that looks like they're interested in interior design. Even though my brother and I, we did a lot of research in this kind of thing, and we had a lot of knowledge, we knew how to design, we had graph paper, we designed on graph paper, measurements and stuff, it was great, we made a lot of great designs, and I still do. We had to hire an interior designer in order to be the client-facing portion of the business, because saying that we're business students, but we're doing your interior design is kind of iffy, even though I think we can do a pretty good job. We had to find creative solutions on how to overcome that.
Yeah, and one of our biggest problems starting off was that when we first did our first shipment, our first order of material, we decided, okay, so let's start this business, let's start selling our moldings, and that's the kind of approach we took. We never really thought about what sort of broader strategy we can take, and we quickly realized that the market for just selling moldings is very small. There's not a lot of money to be made. People, like Rodney said, people can just go to Home Depot, and so we quickly had to adapt. We started off by understanding and looking into the interior design model, and that's what we implemented. And then further, we became an even more specialized sort of business, doing luxury ceiling and wall decoration, and putting ourselves in that sort of space. It's a very niche space, but it's filled with huge margins, a lot of profits, and we can become a trusted leader in the space, and that's where we want to see ourselves in the future.
So we literally started off by having a wall like this, just filled with moldings, one kind of molding, another one, right beside each other. And we had price points for every individual stick. And what that did for us was, which was bad, was customers would walk in and it'd be like, oh, okay, moldings on a wall. Where else do I see that? Home Depot. Home Depot has moldings on a wall. And they see that ours are a lot more expensive because they're different material, they're gold painted, for example. They're hand painted a lot of the time in silver. and they'd be like, oh wow, this is way more expensive than Home Depot, because they literally see the stick-by-stick comparison in their mind. But when we moved into interior design and we ended up, instead of having one showroom, we ended up expanding to 3 showrooms and 1 furniture showroom. So we have 4 showrooms now that we rent out. And 3 of them, we broke down the walls and just made them into 5 different concept rooms, each one having a different feel to it. And what that did was customers would now see the experience of the moldings and see what a living space would look like instead of seeing sticks on a wall. And that, in their mind, gives a different valuation for what our product can offer.
So what do you guys see beyond Luxstream? What other projects would you guys be interested in pursuing? Things that you'd like to pursue a passion to?
Sure. So, I mean, as of now, we're focusing mainly on Luxstream, of course, because no opportunities have really come our way. But moving into the future, I mean, like we learned this year in our entrepreneurial finance class, you need to always have an exit in mind, right? And that might be the next thing we're looking at. Not specifically to exit, but just to know when we can call it quits and move on to the next thing. So for now, we're gonna consistently stay in this, but always being open to opportunities is a big thing for us.
Yeah, one thing we're doing is right after school, we're gonna move to Toronto, and we're still gonna run Luxstream from Toronto. So we're gonna drive up to Vaughan every single day if we have to on sales or the client meetings in Toronto. But apart from that, we're going to try to get involved in like the Toronto startup community and try to meet people, just have conversations and see where that goes.
Yeah, I think that's everything. So thank you guys so much. Would you like to just talk a little bit about Luxstream in terms of where people can find you, how they can contact you, and things like that?
Sure. So our website is luxstream.com. You can find us there. We also have our gallery there, so you can look through a bunch of different projects we've done. If you want, you can check us out on Instagram.
Like us on Instagram.
At Luxstream. So we pretty much have the same photos there as well. And if you guys want to check out our retail location, it's in Vaughan. Look up Improve Canada Home Improvement Mall and come find us there.
And if you ever have any questions about entrepreneurship in general, or you just want to talk about business, feel free to reach out to any of us. We're more than happy to chat.